Continuing fallout from billionaire media owners silencing their editorial boards from endorsing Kamala Harris for president, as New York Times opinion editor Kathleen Kingsbury takes a bold swipe at Washington Post owner Jeffrey Bezos and LA Times owner Patrick Soon-Shiong, who each silenced their editorial pages in what has to be the most alarming development in American media in decades. I'm going to show her subtle but effective condemnation in a minute. But first, let's talk about the fallout from the heavy-handed authoritarian decisions that have sparked outrage and massive cancellations. David Folkenflik of NPR reports that more than 200,000 subscribers have canceled their digital subscriptions to the Washington Post. And that's about 8% of the Washington Post subscriber base. A staggering amount, but not the only fallout, as staff resignations have followed. At the LA Times, editorials editor Mariel Garza resigned, and editorial board members Robert Greene and Karen Klein followed suit. At the Washington Post, the storied newspaper which almost single-handedly brought down Richard Nixon, editor-at-large Robert Kagan resigned, and opinion columnist Michelle Norris just resigned yesterday. The disgraceful censorship from Bezos and Soon-Shiong has left both journalists and readers wondering what actions they should take. Both Jake Tapper and Kathleen Kingsbury offered powerful insights about how to respond collectively and effectively. Tapper posted this on Twitter. Canceling a newspaper subscription helps politicians who don't want oversight, does nothing to hurt the billionaires who own the newspapers and make decisions with which you may disagree, and will result in fewer journalists trying to hold the powerful to account. What Tapper is trying to make clear here is that canceling subscriptions is not an effective collective strategy. It's not going to harm the billionaire owner. It's only going to harm journalists who are going to get laid off as a business decision that the subsequent financial losses do not harm the billionaire owner. So correct intention, incorrect outcome. Readers need a more effective collective strategy. Likewise, journalists and the entire field of journalism needs a collective strategy. The reprehensible actions of Bezos and Soon-Shiong have put their employees in a moral quandary. While several top people have quit in protest, other journalists in the organization are left trying to figure out what to do, how to navigate a complex moral question in the face of a dying industry that is being kept afloat by the very billionaires who are abusing it. New York Times opinion editor Kingsbury models a solution when she announces the New York Times editorial. Watch this.
Kamala Harris is the only choice for president in 2024. She has the New York Times editorial board's endorsement. Hi, I'm Kathleen Kingsbury, and I oversee the opinion report at the New York Times, including its editorial board. With all the discussion about presidential endorsements this fall, I thought it would be helpful to explain how and why the New York Times editorial board weighs in on political races. First, it's important to remind you that news and opinion are separate at the Times. The teams do not coordinate editorially at all. The Times first endorsed a candidate for president in 1860. In that incredibly consequential race, on the cusp of an American Civil War, the board recommended voters choose Abraham Lincoln for the White House. This year, the editorial board has worked hard to explain the stakes in this election. We've said over and over and over again how Donald Trump is temperamentally and morally unfit to be president. Like for all of our editorials, the board has done reporting, we've done research on their policy positions, we've had deep discussions, we've relied on long-standing values and precedents. We got the input of our publisher, A.G. Sulzberger.
They may only be two quick shots referencing what happened, but nonetheless, Kingsbury uses the occasion of the Times editorial to call out the scandalous behavior of billionaire media owners, and the rest of her announcement maintains that subtle dig. Mostly, though, what Kingsbury does here is model a collective behavior that now has to be repeated and amplified by the field of journalism. Collective action is what is needed. Bold, precedent shattering collective action to stand up to this financial authoritarianism. And I would submit that the Green Bay Packers and the lessons we all learned from COVID provide that kind of bold collective action. Why the Green Bay Packers? Because they are the only publicly owned sports franchise in America. There is no owner of the Green Bay Packers. The people who own shares in the Packers are the owners. The shares aren't tradable, and as a result, they have no monetary value, except for the cash that the team used to stay afloat when it was going bankrupt, and to make stadium improvements through the years. This is what the Packers are teaching the employees of the Times and the Post. You should all quit the organization, but stay together as a group and go out and form your own newspaper. Take the name with you. Become the LA Times Dispatch, or my favorite, the Washington Post Standard, because you took the standards of journalism with you. Like the Packers, you will need executives, so go out and hire them. You'll need someone in the publisher's role. Hire them. You'll need an executive board. Assemble them. Step 2. Raise capital by selling non-tradable stock. And this is where readers can respond collectively. If journalists take this step and go out on their own and form their own organization, then we can cancel subscriptions and rally to support you, especially if you move quickly while this story is hot. Readers will not only buy subscriptions, but buy stock in the enterprise, and then go and get really big donors. I can think of one person who would probably give you a lot of financial support to live free of Jeff Bezos. Also, you might even want to consider becoming nonprofit so that people can donate and get a tax write-off. Step 3, work from home and print online until you can afford to print hard copy. We all learned how to do that during COVID, right? I mean, look at Occupy Democrats. We are a completely virtual organization. Do you think I work in the same building as my executive producer? Heck, I don't even live in the same state as him. And why would I? I mean, come on. The guy didn't even go to Dartmouth, right? Step 4, rally support from other media. This is what Kingsbury modeled, and it's what the Washington Press Corps failed to do when Trump was president. Kingsbury models collective action, and now the field needs to take that action further. Journalism needs to make it known throughout the media world that anyone who goes to work for the Times or the Post after their staffs leave en masse will be considered a scab and will not be hireable by any other reputable organization afterwards. Step 5, do it now. You may be thinking, hey, it's too close to the election. This could be chaotic. Well, chaos works in your favor. It leaves your owners in the lurch. They are the ones who will have to scramble, not you. You're already a team who can create output. And there's something else. You may be working on something that could take down Trump right now. Your owner has already proved to you that they are one small step away from saying, oh, don't print this news. And you know that's a far more distinct possibility than any of us want to admit. So do it now, as a group, en masse. That is how you strike back as a collective and not just individual sacrifices. You can't hurt these people in their pocketbooks, but you can collectively take their voice away. You can occupy their space. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats, and we didn't choose this name by coincidence.